if I had to go to a separate site to order that book trade stuff, I would never do it. It would not be worth my time. I don't need that much more product in the store, but when I see something cool where I think we can sell it, yeah, sure, let me add that on. And that's the problem I think a lot of smaller publishers are likely to have going forward is, yeah, you can go to another distributor to get them, but I'm already ordering from like anywhere between 2 and 7 distributors. The 8th one better be absolutely essential material, or I'm going to come up with a reason not to do it.
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. Eisner approved, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the challenges do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. It gets hard and it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with
Patrick Brower.
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 Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
W. Dal Bush.
Dal Bush.
Dal Bush.
Dal.
Dal. Dal.
W. Dal Bush.
So, Patrick,
yes, Dal.
You've probably seen some of the emails that IDW's been sending out about the Street Sharks comic book.
I have multiple, so many, hey, don't you want to do an exclusive cover, retailer?
So obviously we're not doing an exclusive cover, and I'll be perfectly honest, I don't think we're going to be carrying Street Sharks for the shelf.
Yeah.
I will wait and see what the pre-order numbers come in at, but all of the Nacellverse stuff that Oni's been doing, likewise, not caring, don't care about a Power Lords comic. I mean, Biker Mice from Mars, that sort of stuff. But I'm wondering, for you specifically, is there a toy property that you would genuinely be excited to see a publisher pick up that they haven't already? That you're like, I would read a comic based on that.
Well, the comic properties that I read as a kid were things that have all been resurrected at some point, and that would be ROM.
Sure.
Sectars. Micronauts.
Yeah.
There was even
is there a
TriStar,
a rock under which there exists a property that you're like, boy, I would read a comic based on that toy?
I don't think so, because my toys, for as young as I can remember, were always superhero toys.
Yeah, pretty exhausted, and like that whole element of it is pretty strip mined.
My dad had gotten me some G.I. Joe figures, but I'm talking the 14-inch Mego style, military G.I. Joe.
Sure.
And the one that I loved was Bullet Man.
Okay.
Because he was a superhero.
Sure.
He had a dumb costume, but he had a big pointed metal, rounded pointed metal helmet.
Yeah.
And he had hooks on the back of his suit, so you can run string through it and shoot him down a line.
Sure.
So he blasts through something using his head.
Shot out of a cannon or something.
Like he's a bullet.
Right.
And I remember something my dad did, or something I did, made my dad real mad, and he picked up a G.I. Joe, and all the G.I. Joes had a scar on their face because they were so tough and rugged.
Yeah.
But he whipped it at the wall, and it just all the pieces shattered. So then he felt bad and went to buy me a new one, but my dad was real good at getting generic action figures.
The cheaper knockoff.
So it was Army Man guy. And right away I'm like, it's not this. But my dad also would occasionally get a toy. One Christmas, he was trying to get me all of the DC Mego figures that they made.
Wow.
And he couldn't find Robin.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think I've told the story in the podcast before. It's kind of a sad story. He couldn't find Robin, so he called an audible and returned them all and bought me Star Trek ones with the Star Trek Enterprise bridge. I had never watched Star Trek.
Nope.
And I didn't really know what it was. Now, I did like the teleporter.
Sure.
But, I mean, all it was you put them in a thing and you spin it and they come out the other side, but it's outside of the bridge.
Right.
So it's like they teleported.
Right. That's really funny.
Yeah.
And sad. I mean, super sad.
Yeah.
That you could have gotten almost all the DC Migos.
I would have been okay without Robin. Let me just say right now, I would have been okay without Robin.
Yeah.
And I mean, I played with those figures, but I didn't know who anybody was.
You didn't have an investment in it the way you would have with a Batman, a Superman, a Green Arrow, stuff like that.
And at the time, the coveted Mego Batman was the one where the mask came off.
Oh, to be Bruce Wayne.
Which was the one everybody wanted, but it was a awful figure because it was, a normal Mego head with this giant rubber mask that fit over it.
Yeah, it wasn't molded
So
to his face
huge.
like it would have been if it had been a
Yeah.
normal figure.
It was a huge head.
Yeah.
But I can't remember. One of my friends who wasn't even a big superhero fan had it. I'm like, oh man, I really want that. Also, don't want it anymore.
No.
Just put it out there. Donate it.
They make better figures now. I mean, the technology is like, that's the thing for me with vintage figures that I sort of never get into, is that, like, I know a lot of Transformers collectors, for example, who want all of the original figures that either they had as a kid or were never able to get as a kid. So they want 80s and 90s and whatever Transformers. But I look at those and I'm like, yeah, but they're not good. Like, the stuff you would get now in 2025 from Hasbro is light years better. And it's a lot of the same characters. It's just, do you want 2 points of articulation Optimus Prime, or do you want 30 points of articulation Optimus Prime?
And I get that. I completely get that. But you're never going to find a more posable action figure than a Mego figure.
Really?
Yeah.
Then like even the Mezco 112, those aren't.
Oh, the Mego figures are because they're rubber bands inside, so they can
okay.
bend anywhere.
Oh, all right.
So much so that
I never had a Mego, so I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I just assumed they were like regular, like 7 or 8 inch figures. I don't know.
They're hollow inside, and they have a sophisticated rubber band that's got 2 hooks at the top, solid base, and 2 hooks at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So the legs go in there, the arms go in there, and the middle band holds everything together.
I think
you can bend it anyway.
Okay, because I mean the G.I. Joe figures, the 1/18 scale ones from the 80s, I think were also rubber band figures.
Yeah, something like that.
But it was mostly just like the torso and stuff. Like the arms were regular ball joints, so it wasn't like additionally flexible in the arms. It was just they rotated and bent.
So I learned at a young age, if you somehow are too violent and break the rubber band, you can use actual rubber bands to fix your figures.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So I had a lot of triaged
surgically
Mego figures.
altered.
And here's the thing about my Mego figures, and I know this isn't really comic book related so much, but I still have all of them. I have every Mego figure I ever had. And then in the early mid 2000s, I went on let me see what I can pick up that I never had before.
Uh-huh.
So I bought stuff like the Penguin, Shazam.
Mm-hmm.
And after I got them, I'm like, I have no nostalgia for these because I didn't grow up with them. So I don't care about them.
Yeah, so vintage figures only matter if you have like an emotional childhood connection to them.
Yeah. And again, I'm sure I've told this story before, but I was so excited to get the Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
So excited. And I brought them when my family was in 3rd grade. When I was in 3rd grade, my dad had a business trip to Bermuda.
Uh-huh.
So he took us all.
Oh, cool.
And I brought my Fantastic Four Migos with me.
Uh-huh.
And I was playing, we were in a hotel, and we were, higher up, and I was playing on the deck with the thing and the torch, as one does.
Sure.
And I dropped one of them, and I forgot which one. And it landed on, like, the lobby roof.
Oh.
Because, you had the lobby and then the tower.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was distraught.
Of course.
You
could see it.
Yeah. And he's out there all alone, and my dad got somebody to go get it for me.
That's cute.
And I still have them to this day.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I love those figures. Like some of the I had bought a replacement Spider-Man and a replacement Captain America because those guys got beat.
Sure.
But I also figured out how, with the way the hand moves with the wrist joint, there's a little gap there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you work that gap a little bit wider for Spider-Man,
you can put a web shooter.
Could put string through it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So he's got webs or a shoelace or whatever.
Sure.
So he had webs.
That's great.
And my Captain America may have gotten attacked by a dog. A little electrical tape.
Let's just say the man wolf.
That's right.
Sure. Jameson.
Look, when I had a dog, he wanted to play too, and he did. And Captain America may have gotten let's see how good this shield is against a BB gun. Not good at all when you miss and hit him right in the chest.
Well, he should have blocked it better.
He should.
Yeah.
So
must be one of those 1950s Cap that wasn't as good as Steve Rogers.
Like anybody that had a chest emblem that was just glued on, that's long gone.
Sure.
Or Iron Man's center repulsor ray. That was just one little stitch. That broke off right away.
Oh, jeez.
Like I glue it back on, but then there's like a big glue residue.
It's never the same.
And Iron Man's gloves and boots, because they were plastic.
Okay.
They were hard plastic, not rubber.
Oh, yeah.
Those cracked.
Yeah.
but I still have everybody.
Yeah.
And since then, I've added when you and I went to Kokomo Toys the first time,
Mm-hmm.
I picked up unused Cap and an unused Falcon that somebody had made custom boxes for. I know it's not the original boxes, but they're in boxes, so I bought those.
That's cool.
Over the years, I did pick up a set of Kiss Migos,
Mm-hmm.
which were clearly from two different waves because one of them had all the Migo joints, and one of them, the Gene Simmons, I think, has Barbie joints, like where, you know, the skin covers everything and they kind of like
Weird.
just click up a little bit.
Sure, okay.
But yeah, I still have, and my Migo collection has grown because recently you got me Dr. Fate, Firestorm.
Yeah, there's that company that does new Migos.
Yeah.
Which a lot of them are just, you know, 60s and 70s like DC guys. Mm-hmm. Emails. Emails. Anyway, so I guess what I'm hearing is, thank you, Ricochet. I guess what I'm hearing is that if any publisher out there wants to do a DC Marvel Migo comic book,
Yeah.
Patrick is right on board
Sure.
for that.
I do have, thanks to the very talented and well-known Migo collector, famous cartoonist Art Baltazar, I have a Grimjack Migo.
Yeah, really good Grimjack too.
Yeah.
It's really detailed. Fairly accurate.
Over the years, Artie has done me several Grimjack things. Like the first time I met him at Philadelphia, not met him. First time I met Franco, but I was talking to them at a Philadelphia show, and I was getting a sketch, and I'm like, I want Grimjack, and Artie's like, I don't know who that is, sir.
Mm-hmm.
So I describe him. So he did Grimjack off of my description. It's clearly wrong, but you know, you can see him there a little bit.
Got the beret.
Going back to your original question, specifically about the Street Sharks,
Sure.
can you tell me, and I know you can't, what major wrestling connection the Street Sharks have?
I cannot. Street Sharks, so I'll just a little sidebar. It's interesting to me getting older, the amount of stuff that gets brought back for a nostalgia play that is out of my sphere of reference.
Street Sharks is one of them for me.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a bunch of stuff like Michael Marks and Mars where it's like, I was already, I mean, I think I was in like junior high or high school, so I was aware of these things, but I also, even though I was still getting toys and stuff, I've gotten toys my entire life, it had mostly transitioned into like
Even
superhero
today?
toys.
Still now?
Even now, believe it or not, they started making Kamen Rider toys. So I would get, you know,
They always made Kamen Rider toys. You started watching Kamen
it's
Rider.
true. I was making a joke about the prevalence of Kamen Rider toys. They make Batman comic books now. Toy Biz was doing all of the Marvel figures, so by the time I was in junior high and high school, I was mostly just getting like all of the Toy Biz toys that came out.
I do remember freshman year of college, for Christmas, my mom getting me and you know, I say my mom, my dad, it was my parents. Both the gifts came from both of them.
Right.
So it wasn't like it was, but I mean, it was my mom who went out and found these. Got me the Toy Biz Marvel figures I didn't have.
Which is pretty great.
Yeah. And I loved being a college freshman and having my mom buy me action figures.
Buy me toys for Christmas.
And I also loved much later in life, when I was performing out in Serpent Crown, my dad going to buy the very specific color rocker red MAC nail polish that I needed.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very supportive.
Yep. It was always surreal to him.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm buying nail polish for my son.
Uh-huh.
But
is that what he said at the counter when he was buying it?
I think so, yeah.
This is for my son.
And I think he was getting it for one of my sisters to give me, but he still had to be the one to go find it.
Sure. Very cool of him.
Also, rocker red is a good color.
Do they still make it?
Yeah.
No. The Street Sharks and Biker Mice from Mars and stuff, I don't have any connection to it whatsoever. Like, the mask characters have started showing up in the Skybound Hasbro books, the Energon Universe books.
Really?
Yes. And I'm so excited. The Loyal Subjects is doing new versions of all of the classic mask toys, the vehicles and the figures. And when I saw them at Toy Fair, I kind of lost it a little bit. I am immune to so much nostalgia for like when Transformers do like, oh, it's the reproduction of the 1985 version of this in a replica box. I'm like, I don't care. I have a better version of that Hasbro did 3 years ago on my shelf.
Yeah.
The mask stuff, I'm seriously like, oh God, like it's a mixture of, I remember having that green motorcycle when I was a kid. And I also remember like my stepdad, I was playing at a friend's house and a friend of mine had some of the bigger Mask toys. Like they had the Rhino, I think, which was like I don't know, like a truck. And I remember coming back
When you
home.
press the truck's horn, does it go gore, gore, gore?
No, it actually is kind of erudite and a little
Aloof.
gentle. It was nice. No, so I remember I was playing at a friend's house and my stepdad came and picked me up and was taking me home. And I remember saying something like, you know, how much I wish I had that figure or the toy, the Rhino. And like, I would trade all my toys to have that. And he's like, okay, fine. Why don't we go home and get all your toys and see if your friend will trade you for them? And it was this sort of like trying to make me like not be disrespectful and not take for granted all the things I actually had. But as a kid, it was just like, man, fuck you. Like, what? I was just being like a little grandiose, a little
A
self-pitying.
little hyperbolic.
Yeah, and it was just like, no, like, let me just be jealous of this kid. I'm a child, for God's sake. Let me just be jealous of my friend in a car ride home. But I was clearly doing it in front of the wrong person, so whatever, fine.
The Dal of today would be like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. So yeah, when Loyal Subjects showed all that stuff off at Toy Fair, and they just recently had a new update where they're like, oh, we're also going to do like the 2 different masks that the characters would have, like, because they replaced them at one point with shorter masks for, I don't know, choking reasons or something. I don't know.
And does MASK stand for Mobile Action Supply Killers?
It's I don't remember what everything stands for, but I will tell you that the K in MASK stands for, and I swear to God, I'm not making this up, command.
Okay. Was MASK always connected to G.I. Joe? I thought it was a separate thing.
They were always separate, but fans for years, when MASK was kind of on hiatus and wasn't coming out with toys anymore, had speculated that there could be like a connection between G.I. Joe and certainly Transformers, because the vehicles transform. That was the whole MASK thing. You would have like a Trans Am, but then the gull wing doors would come up, and now it flies around like a Transformer.
Yeah, and I always thought it was weird that the G.I. Joe characters, when they're about to go attack Cobra, would yell, transform and roll out, whereas the Transformers would go, yo, Joe.
Yeah.
I thought that was super weird.
It definitely didn't make a lot of sense. I'm glad they flipped it around in time. But now that, I think going back to when IDW was doing the Hasbro stuff, and I think a little before then, there was an attempt to do a kind of unified Hasbro
Communication
thing.
across all channels.
But then IDW kind of codified it into a, yes, these characters exist in the same world. And now with the Energon universe, the characters know each other. And like one of the G.I. Joe characters knows Matt Tracker from Mask. And Matt Tracker from Mask clearly knows about Energon and that the Transformers are on Earth. So all of that stuff is going to come up.
Former wrestling announcer Matt Stryker.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, those toys, that's weirdly, of all the things in the world, I wasn't expecting Mask to be the thing that I was like, I want all the toys I had as a kid and the toys I never got as a kid. That's scary. It's scary to find out that a company like that has that power over you. And I wonder if anyone is like that for the Street Sharks. I wonder if anyone's like, finally a Street Sharks comic book.
Well, I could think of perhaps 2 people. One is the father of the year, and the other can cope with that.
They're both Street Sharks fans?
They both had, and I believe Christian Cage still has, Street Shark tattoos.
No.
They each got a Street Sharks tattoo, and it was the only tattoo they each had for a while.
Oh my God.
Adam Copeland got his covered up with like a stupid, weird, like fiery sun symbol.
Okay.
But if you ever look at Christian, he has one tattoo.
Is it on his neck and that's why he wears the turtleneck?
It's just right on his upper arm.
Okay.
He's got a Street Sharks tattoo.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I probably have seen that a million times and never knew it was Street Sharks because I don't know Street Sharks. So it's like, oh, okay. It's like maybe that's like a hockey mascot? I don't know.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah, Street Sharks. It's some of the stuff that comes up.
I'm sure it's a Canadian thing.
Probably. Some of the stuff that comes up, the licensed comics and stuff, I'm always like, I'm sure there's stores out there like Street Sharks or yay, Street Sharks. But for me, I'm like, I wonder if they're Street Sharks fans. I wonder if we're going to get people coming in saying, wow, finally Street Sharks. And I'm sorry to like hang this whole thing on IDW. I don't mean to be,
Well, I'll
an asshole about
I'll
this.
expand this a little bit more. I thought that we'd already forgive the analogy, jumped the proverbial street shark with the Mad Balls comics.
Yeah. But
and that wasn't IDW.
And this is, I can't remember who it was.
And I feel a little bad because our friend Sean Dove worked on one of those.
Sure. I know that Ryan Brown is a huge fan of the Mad Balls. And that's the thing, like Mad Balls is old enough where I do kind of remember that. I had a couple Mad Balls as a kid. I remember those ads on the back of every Marvel comic for what felt like 10 years. So that, when they did a Mad Balls thing, is like, it basically is like them doing like a Transformers thing. I'm like, no, I get that. But that's because I grew up with it and it's part of my childhood and I understand like an emotional connection to it. But when they do, again, like stuff from like, if they were to do, I'm trying to think of like what was like a 90s toy property. I have no idea. Like sometimes it's like video game stuff when they do like video game comics. Even I played video games, so even that stuff I can sort of get. Like this stuff, Biker Mice and Street Sharks, is this really narrow window where there were still toy companies creating properties for toys and like transmedia stuff. And then it became like comic books and stuff. No one does that anymore. All the toys that come out, it seems like, are all based on movies, TV shows, video games, comic books, whatever. Like it's all pre-existing IP that then gets turned into toys, not the other way around. So I don't know what else could be after Street Sharks that would have that sort of audience to it. I have no idea.
I feel like the toy execs probably have no idea as well. So it really isn't just you.
I mean, again, that's why you see so much stuff getting reiterated on again and again and again. Like almost every Transformer character, you can point to several previous toys that they've done of that character over the last, up to 40 years.
And that's just in America, right? You're not even talking about Japan.
Yeah, although, I mean, obviously, like the last 20 years, it's pretty much one-to-one. What gets produced in Japan gets produced in America and vice versa. But yeah, I mean, you had plenty of stuff. There's a bunch of the HasLab things that have been done by Hasbro over the last few years that were things that were like, this was a character prominent in the Japanese market that never really had a version of them on American TVs. And maybe there was a toy and that toy might have gotten released or in America or Europe, or maybe just got imported by fans. But like, we are going to do a $200 version of it because the internet has made you all aware of these characters. So it doesn't even matter that like, you don't know who Deathsaurus is. Like all the fans who would pay $200 know who Deathsaurus is. They will buy it.
Yeah, I know who Doomsaurus is.
He's new. They'll definitely do a Marvel Legend for him. They're going to, right?
Sure, they
with
have
a little
to.
Rideable Doctor Doom.
When I was visiting my sister over the weekend, and she lives near a Meijer, so I always stop in that Meijer, and I always wander through the toy section.
Sure.
If I see Transformers I don't recognize, I will send you a picture and say, "Do you need one of these?"
And because we've had such terrible luck with Diamond sending us Hasbro stuff, it turned out I did need one.
Yeah. For the record, if I was going to guess, it would have been that one.
Yeah.
But I did see a new wave of WWE figures.
Oh, yeah?
And a new CM Punk WWE figure.
Oh.
I'm like, well, look at that. We're full circle, aren't we?
We made it. We did it, you guys.
After his line of 3 AEW figures, 4.
So there was, the first one was the ice cream bar one.
Yeah.
They did the ROH one, right?
Yeah. They did just a regular AEW one.
And then a Supreme?
No, then they did LJN.
Okay. Did the Supreme one never come out? I thought they had announced one. I don't know.
I don't know if it ever did. But recently, and then back in like 2013 and 2014, and forgive me if I mentioned this on a recent podcast, I was buying up every CM Punk figure I saw. Not every figure, but one of every style.
Was he wrestling at that point, or was he done?
He was just about to be done. We didn't know that, though.
Okay.
And because I'm like, oh, this guy shops at the store. He's an acquaintance of mine. I think it's neat. So I was buying one of everything.
Sure.
And I opened a couple of them, but it's like, I don't need that many CM Punk figures out. So a lot of them I just kept in a box. Well, with his resurgence in popularity, I've sold a bunch of those figures online for stupid amounts of money.
Yeah, way more than you paid for them.
Oh my God, like up to $150 per figure.
That's great.
That was one of them.
Sure.
But I mean, most of them went for between $80 and $150.
Which is great.
I still have a box of the non-fancy figures just the basic.
Because you were buying like elite figures, but you were also buying the we sell these
ones.
at Five Below.
Yeah. So I like those aren't worth selling individually, but I'm like, hey, there's a lot of like 8 figures up plus a bunch of other Punk merchandise I had, like little finger puppets and anyway, no one's biting on that.
Sure.
But I've sold all but one of the elite figures.
That's great.
For considerably more than I paid for them.
Awesome.
I'm like, thanks, Punk.
You're a good friend.
I can make money off you now. That's great. Nothing. These weren't going for anything in the interim when you weren't wrestling.
Yeah, I don't think it's much. I think there's probably like a little window right as he quit where it was like, oh, I know people were buying stuff up because they're like, oh, there's not going to be any more Punk merchandise. Like there's for a guy who was getting a couple figures a year from Mattel or whoever makes the WWE figures. Suddenly there was going to be none, so people were buying up whatever was left on the pegs. But yeah, there's definitely those middle years where it's like, oh, he's an MMA guy, he's a movie guy, he's a commentator.
I once went through my box, and there were, I think, 2 figures I had doubles of for whatever reason. So I just brought those into Challengers and priced them at like normal action figure prices, and they sold.
Yeah.
Maybe not right away, but they went. Well, I think we talked enough about toys in a comics industry business podcast. We're at 26 minutes of action figure
Sometimes
toys.
that's what we want to talk about.
I know.
I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it is.
Look,
I like toys.
Toys still get me excited.
I look at toys a lot online. I buy toys. I sell toys. I read toy blogs and stuff. Yeah, man. I like toys.
I buy way too many toys, and I don't buy nearly as many toys as you do. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. But I'm also years behind in opening and setting up my toys.
Yeah, I definitely try and stay up on that as much as I can. There was a period where I was buying Transformers toys and I was getting them at the early part of my collecting, getting them way faster than I could open them. And it reached a point where I got so like anxious and annoyed with it that I was looking at stacks of boxes that I just like the idea of opening them was just like stressful because I had so many and it just felt like it was work that I took a ton of them back to Target. I was just like, I will take the credit. I don't want these. It stresses me out to look at them. And honestly, like almost none of those I went and rebought. So it's like clearly I was buying figures I didn't want or I wasn't invested in just to have, a quote unquote full collection or whatever. And it's like, who cares about that? So now I try to make sure that not only am I buying the stuff I want, but I'm also opening it when it comes in so it doesn't stack up and become like a project I have to take
so that's
on.
just it. It is a project if you are opening figures in mass because of how well they are adhered to the packaging, whether it be with tiny little plastic microbands or tape.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not a huge accessory fan. I want everything to be able to fit on the figure.
Sure.
So when they come with extra hands and extra heads, I used to keep everything separate in a nice little like tackle box thing, but then I outgrew that and bought a bigger one, and I just dump everything in it.
Oh boy!
It is like, let's say
he'll never find those extra hands.
Right? They're there, they're in there, but I'm never going to want them.
You're right.
But I don't want to throw them away because they came with it, which is why I stupidly keep every Build-A-Figure piece, also throw it in the same tackle box. Because I don't know, sometimes I will try to build an amalgamated figure out of whatever parts I have. But for the most part, I feel wasteful throwing them away.
Sure.
And I know the answer is put them on eBay. Someone will want to buy them. It's a lot of work for one little plastic thing.
Yeah, I don't know that I would ever want to sell an accessory or a like Build-A-Figure piece. Like I've certainly sold a bunch of older toys online, stuff that's been sitting in bins that I don't have on display. And after long enough, I'm like, well, I'm clearly never going to put this on display. So let's just move it along.
Yeah.
So the bins don't get too full. But I definitely keep track of where all my accessories and instructions and stuff are for figures so that when I want to sell it, I can just be like, okay, everything's in one bag. Let's take some photos. Let's list it. Instead of like, I have this figure. It doesn't have the guns because the guns are in a giant Tupperware bin and I cannot figure out which ones they are. Although there have been several times that I've needed to sell a figure and I've had a little bag of accessories and been like, the Transformers wiki has been invaluable because they will show you like, not only will there be a list of like, here's what it comes with. So you make sure you've got everything, but then here's a picture of the figure. So when you need to package a gun with it and the same mold was used for like 7 different guns in 7 different colors. It's like, here's the color you need. It's like, okay, I found it. So I can sell a complete figure now and actually get more money for it instead of having to knock bucks off because it's like, I don't know what gun this comes with. I'm sorry. We're never going to be done talking about action figures, Patrick.
No, we're going to move on. We're gonna go back into the comics industry.
Please, let's.
And we're going to
there.
talk about everybody's favorite punching bag, Diamond Comics.
Diamond Comic Distribution. Or distributors, take your pick.
Yeah, I feel like, when we talk about Diamond now, it's a whole different entity. It's a different thing entirely because it's different owners. It's different. And I don't know what they're...
Still can't call them up on a phone and talk to a customer service rep.
Why would you want to do that? Why would they want you to do that?
No, they definitely don't.
Yeah. This week they had a statement clarifying their stance with other publishers that they could carry, and it started off with hey, we need, let's get to the bottom of this. Let's tell you where everything stands. And it's basically, by the end of June, we're not carrying anybody that goes through Penguin Random House.
Retailers update on Penguin Random House orders. As a follow-up to our May 23rd communication, we want to provide an important update regarding orders for Penguin Random House, (PRH titles). Bold. We're canceling all open PRH orders for product with an on-sale date after June 25th. And after that, it's just like, hey, here's what that means. Here are the, 24 publishers and imprints that Penguin Random House owns or stocks. Like, oh, okay. And the thing that they've brought up a couple times that I think is super funny. We continue to work with publishers to address the disruption and we'll share additional guidance as it becomes available. How would you address this disruption? Penguin Random House is not selling to you. You can't get 7 Seas or Distillery or Marvel from somebody else. That's the whole point. You got them from PRH and they cut you off. What?
It's so bad they have got no one of any value left, basically.
All they have is Dynamite.
That they're the newest issue of previews.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 covers are Conan from Titan, who they shared distribution with Lunar.
Yep. I mean, Titan decamped to Lunar and was like, we will still sell through Diamond, but clearly they would rather you just go through Lunar. And I think inevitably a lot of the people who are 50-50 are like, we're just Lunar now.
Yeah.
Eventually they will transition away from that.
And the other cover was Ecos. Is that
I didn't even look at it.
A Turner book? Like a Mike, remember whatever company puts out Michael Turner
Aspen?
stuff? Yeah.
Maybe. Soon it's going to be Avatar relists.
Man.
Yeah, it's a really weird company. And I think one of the things I mentioned before that I wouldn't hate it if Diamond just became a toy and collectibles distributor. We have a need for that.
Yeah, but they're not doing that.
No, they're bad at that part too. Again, if you're going to be that, stop taking orders for Hasbro stuff you're not shipping. Every time I look at the new to order, it just feels like they've pivoted to some new company that will sell them product. Because everybody else they've been offering won't sell them product anymore.
They went real heavy recently into model cars.
A lot of Hot Wheels stuff. A whole bunch of Hot Wheels. And it's I don't... fine if you want to do that, but what about the orders you've already been taking over the last 5 months that you have not filled?
I think what they need to do first is change their name to Diamond Hobby Distributors.
I don't know, man. It's really embarrassing. We're getting a shipment of stuff this coming week.
You're being very generous in your word shipment.
We are getting
a tiny box
things via UPS for the coming week, and I honestly did a double take when I looked at the CSV file because it's the bulk of it, and I mean the bulk of it, is reordered pins. Because I looked at our 100% soft section, was like, oh, there's a bunch of empty pegs. Let's see what Diamond has left because that's who we've gotten them from.
Yeah,
and of course there were a couple of designs that are back ordered, not stock. So okay, they're never going to get them again. But there were a few that they had in stock. So I'm like, oh wait. Let's restock on those. So that's the bulk of it. Then there's a couple reorder special orders where it's a Boom comic that we needed a variant for that PRH didn't have, or a Marvel trade that PRH didn't have.
A section of damage replacements.
Yeah, a bunch of Dynamite damage replacements. Because all we get from them is Dynamite, and more than half of them have been showing up damaged. Although I will say, to Diamond's credit, because of the way they packed stuff this past week, they sent it in a double box, outer box, what we call a gut buster, where it's 2 regular sized inner boxes inside a larger outer box. which meant it was multiple walls of cardboard, making sure that the stuff was actually fine. And then also an amount of bubble wrap sort of in the vicinity of the books so they couldn't move around and get damaged. So all of the Dynamite comic books we got in for on Wednesday for the following weeks, we're going to put them out the following Wednesday on the 11th, was actually, they were fine. They were all sellable, which is insane.
Here we are complimenting them for doing the bare minimum of what they used to do all the time.
Yeah, instead it's now kind of a nice surprise when, there weren't 75% damages on our comic books because whoever at Diamond packed them badly. But yeah, so what we're getting in on the following shipment, which may go on sale on the 11th, may go on sale on the 18th, depending on when they actually ship it out, there's no new comic books. There's nothing for the shelf. It's crazy. Whatever few comic books we're getting in are all like pre-orders and special orders and stuff that's subscription only.
So last week we got in, there was a wave of X-Men Legends that we ordered everybody from, but all we got in was the Wolverine.
Yeah.
And of the 3 figures, 2 of them were crushed.
One of them was crushed.
Yeah.
And you can sort of so we keep it in the back. So hopefully if someone comes in and buys that Extreme X-Men Wolverine, we can ask them like, hey, are you going to open this? Do you care about the box? Would you take a crushed box instead? I don't know if anyone's going to.
But it's like, how do you do that?
Pretty bad, right?
It's not a blister pack. It's a thicker Hasbro cardboard box.
Yeah, it's crushed. And also, I misspoke earlier. We actually already put out that stuff that came in, the Dynamite comic books and stuff.
Yeah, I wondered why you said that.
Yeah,
I didn't correct you.
Originally, the thought was we would just hold it, and because that's what we usually do. If the books don't show up by Tuesday night when we close, anything that shows up after that goes out the following Wednesday, because we're not going to try and put stuff out after the rush of people have already come in on Wednesday morning. But since this was so much either replacement product or honestly was so little of it was for the shelf that it was just like, let's just receive everything that subscribers can get their stuff and we can put out the non-comic merchandise, and the 6 Terminator copies we have for the shelf can just go on the shelf. It's not a big deal.
Since November of 2024, Diamond has been perpetually a week behind for us.
Pretty much.
So it's been difficult for us to be able to alert people in advance of what's available and what's coming out.
Like via the website or the emails we send out.
And we tend to not even put that stuff on there because even when we get an invoice ahead of time saying this is next week's stuff, we can't guarantee we'll get it in time.
Yeah, more than half the times we have to end up taking that stuff off because it's like that stuff is not coming in until like Thursday, maybe.
Oh, I hate it when after the fact and a list is already done, it's like, oh no, we are getting this stuff on time. So I have to adjust the list for making spaces on the shelves and for the last second changes to the actual new release board in the store.
Yep.
Only to find that 75% of it is damaged and you can't put it out anyway. So I have to go back and take that stuff out.
Yeah, in fact, that's what we were doing this past Wednesday, where we knew that amount of stuff that was scheduled for June 3rd actually came in June 4th. We didn't know if it should go on the list because we were waiting until it arrived to find out whether it or not it would be sellable. So you were kind of sitting there for like 2 hours waiting for UPS to show up. You couldn't finish because it's like,
my lists were ready to go, ready to publish and schedule the email, but I didn't know what Diamond stuff I had to add.
Right.
Although I think I left the Marvel puzzle might be on the list still, even though it's on the shelf right now.
Okay. It'll be a very large Marvel puzzle.
The 3,000 pieces.
3,000 pieces.
Yeah. Yep. It comes in like a cube.
It really does. It's gigantic.
Not a box, a cube. But it's been 7-8 months of this being business as usual.
Yeah.
And it's really made us not care about the stuff we get from Diamond.
Yeah, again, since the majority of what we get from them is non-comics merchandise, that's always stuff that if we get it, great. If we don't, it's not going to be the end of the world. I don't care. Like, we don't feel like we need to carry that stuff to be a full-service comic shop. So fine, whatever. It shows up when it shows up. If they never fill the orders, whatever. Like, obviously, there's stuff that I would prefer us to have. And certainly, if this keeps going, we're going to start looking other places for where we can source this stuff. But in the current circumstance, it's like, if we were still getting, hundreds of comics from them in a week, I would be furious about this. But we transitioned away from them, so we didn't have to worry about that.
to me, one of the best parts of working with Diamond was the accessibility of all the small publishers under one roof.
Yeah.
And while we are slowly breaking things out, we still don't have a dedicated Macmillan account.
Right.
We still don't have, there's specific publishers that are
HarperCollins.
Yeah. And, it makes sense to have all those, but it's also each time you add a new distributor, you're adding a ton of more work.
Yeah. I mean, to give an example, I do our graphic novel reorders on Wednesday nights. It used to be, 5-6 years ago, we would just do one Diamond reorder. We would generate a list of what we need to restock. We'd prune it down based on what we thought we could sell faster or what we could afford that week. And then we'd upload it to Diamond, and Diamond would say, okay, here's what we've got, and here's what's on back order. Great.
And we'd try to schedule it so we get the books in on Tuesday so we could put them out on Tuesday so they'd be ready for Wednesday.
But obviously it's not the case anymore. So in a given night, I could be doing reorders from Lunar, Penguin Random House, Simon & Schuster, Hachette, Scholastic, Ingram, and I feel like I'm forgetting somebody, but I think that's it. Diamond. But
that one.
I honestly don't do Diamond anymore because they don't have anything. Like the last things we were ordering from Diamond were distillery, and they don't have distillery anymore, so forget it. So the problem with doing that is that each of those kind of have minimums. We're always over whatever minimums would be necessary for things like Lunar. Penguin Random House doesn't have any minimums, so we'd be over those anyway.
But we take full advantage of, so I was doing the invoice breakdown in the middle of the night for the 18th.
Okay.
And there was a specific, It's Jeff foil cover.
Okay.
So whenever there are quantities, I can't tell if it's shelf or special order only.
Mm-hmm.
I will go into Manage Comics and look it up.
Okay.
And for that It's Jeff book, we were short 2 foil, we had 6 orders for it, but we're only getting 4.
Oh, okay.
So I threw 2 more in. As I'm saying this out loud, I realized I didn't close that transaction.
Oh, that's fine.
I threw 2 more in a Penguin Random House cart.
Okay.
Because I want to make sure that we don't wait too long. And
just to finish up this parenthetical, so what sometimes happens with pre-orders for foil covers from Marvel, when you pre-order a DC foil cover, it has a set cover price and a normal discount. So
and we say, yes, approved.
Yes, approved. It's done. So when we go to do things like final order cutoffs, last call, it's there in our database to say we need to order that for you. With Marvel, that's a net cost item, which means we have to then come up with a price and send that to the customer. The customer has to approve that price. Then it goes into our database to be ordered on final order cutoff and last call. What can happen sometimes is that someone will put in a last minute, i.e. we order on Mondays, they will order this on Sunday, saying, I want this foil cover. And then on Sunday, we say, okay, great. Well, it's going to be $10.
Or $10.99 if you didn't realize the $5.50 was just a placeholder.
If they don't approve it as a customer by the time I'm doing the orders on Monday afternoon, then the system says, okay, you need 3, but there could be 2 outstanding people who haven't approved it yet.
Got it.
They then approve it on Monday night, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it's like, okay, well, I didn't order any for the shelf. So now suddenly we're getting less than we need for approved. So the good news is that I always just do what you do, where when I see the invoice and I see that we're not getting enough in, I go, okay, let me order 2 more. Usually because we're doing the invoices a week in advance of stuff going on sale and things take about 7 to 10 days to show up from Penguin Random House. By the time I see that, it's, those 11 days before. So I'm like, great, let me get this shipped out. Thank you. Yeah.
So the main reason I was telling you is when you caught it, you wouldn't have to reorder 2 more.
Sure. Thank you.
And I'm glad.
Because otherwise I would. Well, at this point, since you did it in advance, that'll be on the invoice.
Yeah.
That I download, so it'll already match up, even though they're coming in maybe 2 separate shipments.
Yeah. Fair.
But anyway, so the stuff that I reorder, the smaller publishers, the distributors we don't get a lot of stuff from, like Hachette, I will skip some things, some weeks, because it's like we don't get enough stuff from them to necessitate a shipment.
Yeah.
When we were getting everything from Diamond, I wouldn't really skip anybody like that because I wouldn't need to. It's just like I'm already hitting whatever Diamond's minimums are. So let me add in 1s and 2s from these smaller publishers. And it's the same way with things like FOCs, where when I'm ordering stuff on FOC from Penguin Random House specifically, they'll have a lot of smaller publishers, more book trade oriented stuff, that when I see it on there, I'm like, oh yeah, let me toss that on the cart. No big deal. If I had to go to a separate site to order that book trade stuff, I would never do it. It would not be worth my time. I don't need that much more product in the store, but when I see something cool where I think we can sell it, yeah, sure, let me add that on. And that's the problem I think a lot of smaller publishers are likely to have going forward is, yeah, you can go to another distributor to get them, but I'm already ordering from like anywhere between like 2 and 7 distributors. Is the 8th one better be like absolutely essential material, or I'm going to come up with a reason not to do it.
Yeah, of course. That makes perfect sense. And there's another tiny issue of timing where we had a subscriber ask for a book and we looked it up and it's like, oh, we have to get this through Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. Put it in the cart and you placed the order yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sure, great. It's in their system, but they don't just ship it out when it comes out.
No.
When it comes out, they have to wait until we hit the minimums for that order to go. So
luckily things can accumulate, but sometimes it can take a few extra weeks of orders to have enough things in stock at a precise warehouse
for
them to ship it out.
In their email, I'm like, hey, it's due this week. It might be like a week or two after.
Maybe.
And they're not very
thankfully.
They don't need things immediately, but
yeah, they understand.
But so our order is in, but it doesn't just come out.
Right.
And after you'd placed the order last night, I saw Heidi from the Beat had posted about a book that she got a comp of that looked great called Visible Women.
Okay.
And it's a history of the women creators at Marvel.
Oh, cool.
I'm like, oh, this sounds great. So I looked it up. I'm like, oh, it's an Ingram book for us.
Oh, is that okay?
So I threw a couple in the cart.
Cool.
So one for me, one for the rack.
Okay.
But again, and that comes out June 24th.
Mm-hmm.
There's no guarantee we get it until after that. You know?
Maybe.
I mean, we will get it.
Right.
And I do that
we just might not have it for release date.
Yeah, I do that a lot for me personally when I find a new book from an author that I'm a fan of, like, Harlan Coben.
I'm not familiar with his work.
He's got a
Maybe
lot
if he
of
made some
shows,
TV shows.
a couple of shows on Netflix you might be able to see. Throw that in the cart, and when we get it, we get it. And I'm not reading it right away anyway.
Sure.
And I do that with I just did. Well, anyway, I do that a lot for myself, and then forget about it. Mm-hmm. So when it does come out, it's like, oh, cool, this is out.
Yeah, look at this nice surprise somebody sent me. Oh, it was me.
But also, inevitably, those are not on a stocky manifest because it's not a reorder. It's not a stock item for the store. So if, let's say, Gina is checking things in, she's always like, this isn't on
this doesn't scan.
I'm like, oh, that's okay. This is for me. That's for me. Or I'll like take my books and put them aside. She's like, I swear there were 2 more books. I'm like, don't worry about those 2.
It's a mystery.
Those are not
much like Harlan Coben's books.
Those are not going in the inventory. It's just a paperback copy of Bob Mortimer's first novel. That's all.
That's all.
Happy to have it.
So yeah, I think about like Filbo distribution and places like that where I would love for us to be able to just say like, oh yeah, let's just get these extra books from these extra places. But it's a problem we had over the years with Diamond, even when they were doing everything, is it's very easy to be like, let's take a flyer on this book or that book, because you're just ordering everything together. It doesn't matter. So you can try out smaller publishers, you can do other stuff. But then what you start to realize is like, you're eating up a lot of inventory and a lot of space with these onesies and twosies that you're not excited about, and people don't care about, and no one's going to miss if you don't stock. And yeah, I mean, I think a lot of retailers, good retailers, want to have a really like
diverse selection,
wide and deep selection of stuff. But the reality is a lot of that stuff, if you're not personally excited about it, who cares? What are you stocking it for?
Did you see today on Final Order Cutoff that...
I usually don't look at FOC until Monday when I'm doing FOC.
Okay. I did not mean that. I said that. I did not mean that. Huh? I clearly meant new to order.
Oh, I looked at new to order this morning. I think there were like 2 toys on it or something.
Right. But new to order this morning, and again, this is my brain transposing 2 different things. They listed the second print of the Goddamn Tragedy from Oni.
Huh.
Wait. And they also listed the 3rd print for the Goddamn Tragedy from Oni.
Weird. Okay.
They're soliciting a 2nd and 3rd print. Now, we did get an email about that book, but I just deleted it because,
We have copies.
and also even if we didn't have copies, we would not be reordering the second print.
Isn't it a one shot?
It's a one shot.
Which, I mean, I'm not going to say we would never do that because we ordered the second print did we order the second print for Free for All? I don't think we did.
We didn't need to.
Yeah, we didn't need to.
We have a
still
ton of the first one still.
Yeah, maybe everybody who comes in to buy Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, Rite of Spring #1, I'm going to go, hey, did you read the one shot that came out like a couple months ago?
It's real good.
And certainly there's not a lot of work, by that creator, so maybe check it out. I hope that series sells. I'm real nervous about that one because Boom? IDW? IDW. I did not do returnability on that one like they do on other first issues. And I always wonder, outside the heat of a really hot title's launch, and Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees was one of those like speculator books for months. I don't know how much people are going to care about this. Like, I don't, like, the weird math of this is, so it's been a while since the last series, but it's by the same creator, so why would you not want it?
And it hasn't been that long. It's not like 5 years.
There were a lot of speculator people who were getting it, and they don't usually show up for sequels. But
the trade sold really well.
A ton of copies of the trade, so who knows how many new fans that created.
Let me tell you why I'm excited for this sequel series.
It's got a very long title, and you love that?
Yeah, definitely that.
It's such a long title.
You could have gotten away with Where Nobody Sees. Just call it Beneath the Trees, Rite of Spring. Yep.
Beneath the Trees, Rite of Spring. Dunzo.
What I like about it is, it's a full blood sequel. It's not like, well, the town is safe and Samantha can kill again. No. It's technology has caught up.
We skip ahead in time.
Technology has caught up, to the real world, and all those killings that she did in the past, now they have ways to investigate those.
Yeah, basically, it's like the rise of kind of internet sleuths.
Yeah.
Into what was like a more 1980s, like, oh, you could just, like, people would maybe make a newspaper, maybe people would talk about it, but no one really could coordinate. And now you suddenly have all of these people who are the survivors and relatives of her killings being like, what are we missing? Where did these people go? How do we solve this?
Yeah. So it's something from her past.
Yeah.
Like, it's a previous occurrence that she still has to pay for, because ultimately it's a weird book because you're rooting for a serial killer.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically Dexter.
I never watched Dexter.
It's basically Dexter. I mean, it is and it isn't. Like, there's enough of Dexter in its DNA that I would, if Patrick Horvath was ever like, I've never heard of that show, I'd be like, come on, dude.
Michael C. Hall's only ever going to be Nate Fisher's little brother to me.
For real.
So
I did the first episode of Dexter, did not think much of it, but I was at least aware of the premise.
Fair. And I do know that our bestest friend, Amy Garcia, was on that show.
Is that right?
Yeah. So anyway, I hope that book does well. And I think that the people that are getting into it now are getting into it.
Yeah, it just makes ordering the first issue of it really difficult because it's like, I either ordered way too many or way too few, and I don't know what it's going to be until 3 weeks from now. We'll see.
I think you ordered just right. -1.
-1. There's always going to be one person who's like, oh, you sold out? We had it for 3 months.
Also, I've been sitting on the PDF for that and haven't touched it.
I'm pretty sure I read... No, what did I read? It was in the Free Comic Day comic. That was the little preview I read.
Oh.
I think.
IDW Dark?
Yeah. I think. I read it somewhere.
I have that upstairs.
I don't think I read the PDF is what I'm saying.
I will. I mean to. I'm backed up on PDFs again.
Oh man, same here. DC's been posting a bunch of stuff into their box account, and I keep forgetting to go look at it. And it's definitely stuff I would want to read. I don't think it was anything that was like super crucial where I'm like, oh, this is a huge launch, I got to read. It was mostly just like, I should probably give that a look.
Crypto is there.
Yeah, but the stuff I always want to read is either things I'm super jazzed about and I'm incredibly curious about, or stuff where I have no idea who the audience is, and I at least want to read it to figure out, like, is this good? Is it for somebody? Are people going to respond to this? And crypto doesn't really fit in either one of those, because while I am excited about it, it's the sort of book I can wait on to read when it's in print.
Sure.
Yeah, and since we're doing a signing, I don't need to know what to order. I'm ordering based on the signing, not based on how good the book is or whatever. And I'm sure the book's going to be great. It's Ryan North, it's Mike Norton. I think it's a killer creative team. It's a great premise coming out of the perfect time. Yeah.
It's Ryan Northton.
Maybe.
There's no Mike in there then.
No.
Like the Northton. I think it'll be fun. I just wish they would let Mike do covers. It comes out the same time as the Revival TV series.
Oh, wow.
It's Peacock. Because
It's on
Revival's on Sci-Fi,
Oh, okay.
but a week later it goes to Peacock.
Oh, okay.
Which is how I'm going to be able to watch it because I don't have Sci-Fi.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to get cable again soon because football season is going to start.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
September.
Before you know it.
I'm very much looking forward to September. Even, let's just say August.
Yeah.
July, give it a pass.
Fantastic Four tickets went on sale, and I was glad to see that people seem really excited about that movie.
Everybody wants that Galactus light up popcorn vessel.
Yeah.
And
it really made the news.
It's all over the news. And so many like non-comic people like, I got to have that.
Yeah.
There is no way they're making enough of these.
So I can't tell if it feels very AMC, but I feel like I saw other places listing.
I think it was other places as well.
So I think the Galactus head might be everywhere, but places will have their own specific vessels.
I have never seen this many popcorn vessels, drink holders.
A lot of stuff.
More than anything, because you have 4 main characters.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing 4 of everything, plus a Herbie.
I feel
plus
like
a Galactus.
I probably want to do a reorder on the first Wade Ringo FF collection that they put out.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the front table one I want to push.
Yeah.
There's other stuff that's come out recently, like the Morrison Lee 1, 2, 3, 4 and the recent premiere collection Solve Everything. But I just feel like
I think 1, 2, 3, 4 is a little bit harder of a.
I don't think that's going to be the tone of the movie.
Yeah.
But like the Wade Ringo one is like, I don't know, man, that's ideal Fantastic Four for me as far as like getting people into it, because it's fun and it's smart and it's like, I think the Ryan North stuff is great. Don't get me wrong. But I think there's like, that's a little bit more uneven in that I think the first few issues, the art's not great. And then later it sort of gets a little too much into stories that kind of don't really play up the whole family.
Yeah.
But the middle section of that series is great. Like if volumes 3 or 4 for the Ryan North FF stuff, I think is where I would send people. But I don't know that that would be the first thing I would have people read. I think the Wade Ringo stuff sets it up better. The dynamic of the family.
Yeah, that was made as an introduction to the team. This current run, while great, is all about splintering it down to the components and seeing who each person is individually. Which, in the first issue, they split up.
Yeah, which as an FF fan is super fun, because you get these stories where it's like, oh man, I've never really read a good Johnny Reed adventure. So here's a Johnny Reed adventure and like what their dynamic is.
Which is amazing together.
Which is so smart. And that's one of the things that Ryan North has been great at, is just finding new angles on all of these characters. Like, how can you arrange characters in a different way that you've never seen before, but feels like the most logical thing you could do. Like, there's a couple really great Alicia Sue stories where it's like, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, like, what's the coordinate, like the grouping of FF characters I would least want to read, it would have been like, well,
Alicia and the kids.
But like, even the kids' stories, when they do like a few adventures with the kids, I'm like, these are all great.
So what you're saying is Ryan North is incredibly good at finding new angles for somebody who is nothing but curved and stretchy and rounded.
It's true. Yeah. Although, I mean, the Thing usually has a lot like Rocky.
That's fair. Well, I meant Reed specifically.
Oh, okay.
He's good at finding new angles for someone who's on fire.
So yeah, I really hope that people's interest in the FF movie translates into comic sales. Always. It's been a lot of Doom stuff leading up to this, which I think like the Robert Downey Jr. Doom stuff really overshadowed the FF stuff for a while. But hopefully in the next month or so, we'll see people getting more interested. And we've talked about this to death, but the arc of how these superhero movies go as far as their impact on comics is, unless it's a direct adaptation of a comic story, Scott Pilgrim or The Walking Dead or Watchmen or whatever, like, the interest is only up until the movie comes out and then people don't care. So like right now, tickets going on sale, people getting excited about popcorn vessels is where we're going to see a lot of the like walk-in interest for like the Fantastic Four. Then they'll see the movie and then they're going to move on to the next thing. The movie is not necessarily going to make a lot of people say, oh, I got to go to the comic shop and read a ton of Fantastic Four comics. the movie is the end point, not the starting point. Which is why I should probably order those FF trades today.
That sounds good. Then you can put in the same cart that has those It's Jeff foil covers.
There you
go. Everything is taken care of. Just like this episode is taken care of. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.